Welcome back to part 3 of the season dashboard in our Tableau for Sports series. So we're hopefully going to pull everything together. We have a few sheets left to make, but we're going to pull everything together now into a dashboard and get it interactive. So far we've made the sheets. This is what we're aiming for. This is the finished dashboard. And we have left the team crests here across the top, and then also the title. So the team crests act as a filter. So I'm able to click on a team crest and everything updates. But you notice also the title updates, so it's dynamic as well. So if I click on the Gold Coast here, it updates and it puts the team name in the title. So we're going to finish creating these two sheets, and they're not actually just a bunch of images, dragged in from the image selector down here. And the same, the title is actually a sheet as well, because I wanted to pass in the team name here. Okay, so let's have a go at those two. So let's add a new sheet here. And next up we'll do the team crests. Okay, so I'm going to add the team name across the top here. I'm going to change the mark type. So at the moment it's text. I'm actually going to change it to a shape. So you see I get all these circles. And then everything is driven from the data. So I want the shape to be dependent on the team name. So I'm going to put team in there. Okay, so now you can see I got a bunch of different shapes per team. Now I've already loaded the images, and again you have access to the images. I've made them available so you can download. And I'll also share a link about how you can add these custom shapes into your Tableau repository. Okay, so it's important to go and just read up on that, on how you add them in here. But if you've done it correctly, you can hit reload just to reload in case. But you should see a folder, in my case called AFL. I'm going to hit assign, and each one of these then is logged against the image. Now it's done alphabetically, so again I've named the crest correctly, but just in case you're doing this by yourself. But if you needed to, you just click on one and click on the new crest there. Okay, so I'm going to click OK, so we can see that that's in. And again I'm going to make entire view, and I'm going to bump the size up. We can adjust that in a second. And because I just want the crests, I'm actually going to turn off the header here, and we're going to right click and format, and we're going to get rid of any lines that are in here, and also get rid of the title. But we'll call this team crest select. Okay, so that's my sheet. You can see as I hover over, again I'll probably turn the tooltips off here. They don't add anything to it. I want to make it nice and clean. Okay, so that's that one. Next we're going to create our dash title, and I'm not just using blank text, as I said, because I want the text to be dynamic. So again I'm going to add a team filter here. I'm going to Adelaide, and I'm going to put the team in the text, and again do the same thing. Entire view, I'm going to align this one to the left, and I'm just going to go into the text and the three little dots. And I'm going to leave the team there because it's in the angle bracket, so it's data. So once the filter changes, the team name will update. So we'll say season stats and form guide, and we'll bump this up. Can't remember what I made it, but let's say Tableau bold. Okay, we can come back and edit that in a second. But you see now I have a title, and if I again show this filter and change it to Brisbane, the title updates. Okay, so you can do all sorts of things like that, and that's why using a sheet for this is much easier. Even underline the team rather than blank text, okay, or a text box. Okay, so that's all our stuff. Now one thing I do want to add is I need this filter to apply across all. So if I change it, see here, to Brisbane, and I go back to handballs, and see the team is still Adelaide, so my filters aren't consistent. Even though I have the same filter on each sheet, I want to make these consistent across. So I'm just going to pick one of the sheets. I'm going to apply to worksheets, and I don't quite want all, because the team crest select I don't want filtered, so I want selected sheets. I'm going to click all, and then I'm going to untick the team crest selector. Okay, now what you'll notice is the icon will change here slightly, so I'm going to go okay, and you see I get a little change in icon. And now if I was to go back to a dashboard, you see the filter is consistent across everything. So let's go back to here and let's change that to Carlton and go back to any of my KPIs. They now update for Carlton. Okay, so the only one it's not filtering is this. If I'd applied the filter to this sheet, I'd only get left with one image, which is not what I want. Okay, so nice and quickly, I've added that across all of the dashboard, or all of the sheets, I should say. Okay, so let's create a dashboard. Now, you can see here, so first of all, I'm going to set my size, so it's 1200 by 800, and I have a few different elements going on, and we're going to deal with these containers. Now, this can get a little bit fiddly, there's no doubting that. So bear with me as we work around this. It takes a little bit of trial and error, a bit of practice, but hopefully we can lay this out properly so it's nice and easy to build. Okay, so I'm going to increase my size, so we've got 1200 by 800. Now I'm actually going to use Microsoft Paint for a second. It's easier just to draw this out. So imagine this is our dashboard, okay? And the way I want it laid out is we have the title running across the top, and we have a little bit of instruction over here for the team selector. Then we have the images, then we have the form guide, and then in this bottom section we have it kind of split like that, and like that, and like that. Okay, now that's very rough, but just gives me an idea of how I want it laid out. And the reason for this is because it's much easier to deal with containers and put things in containers than it is just to free form it. Okay, so this gives me an idea. My overall container should be a vertical container. Okay, so you see I'm stacking items on top of each other, and then within it, so within this container, for example, I'm going to have the KPI at the top and the bar chart below. Okay, so again, that's going to be a vertical container in there. Now this will all become apparent as we go through it. As I said, it's a little bit fiddly. Don't worry if you don't get it first time, but it just helps me think about how I'm going to lay the dashboard out if I just quickly sketch something like this. I'm going to actually start from the bottom and work my way up. It's how we're going to do it. Okay, so I'm going to throw in a blank first of all. That's going to be the top half, and then I need two sections, so these are going to be vertical. Okay, so we've got two vertical sections, and again I kind of cheat here a little bit. This is just how I do it. You won't find this in any manual, but I'm going to add in a text box. Okay, so you can see now when I click here I get this dotted line, which just makes it easier for me to add in elements. So if we build this up, so next I want a horizontal container, and I want a second one. I'm going to drop that on the dotted lines. Okay, so I've got two horizontal containers stacked on top of each other, and now I can get rid of that text. It just helps me stack them properly. Okay, so horizontal is across. If I double click, it highlights the full container, and the thing I can do here is distribute evenly. So it means this box is exactly the same height as that box, which again is very useful when we're spacing this dashboard out. Okay, I want three boxes in here. So again, I'm going to add a text box. Okay, I'm adding a text box. This just makes it easier for me to stack. If you imagine, I want three boxes, but within those boxes, there's two charts. There's a KPI and then a bar chart stacked on top of each other. So that's going to be a vertical container. So I'm going to add three of those. I'm going to add them on the dotted line is the easiest. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, and I can get rid of my text box. So now when I double click on one of these, I can do the same thing, distribute evenly. So now I know that these three boxes are exactly the same size. And let's just, for the sake of completeness, do the same thing here. So I'm going to add text box, and then I'm going to add 1, 2, 3. And again, double click, I get them, distribute contents evenly. So now I have two things stacked on top of each other. Okay. So I should be in a position to start building my my dashboard now. Okay, so I'm just going to take from the top, no particular order. Again, you can move these around afterwards. We're going to take KPI clangers, put it in that box, and I'm going to take the team clangers and drop it at the bottom. See where that gray outline box is? I'm going to drop it in there. Okay, let's hide the title on that one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the height of this to be 260. And let's make that 180 maybe. Okay, and we can make this a little bit bigger. Sorry, we'll make this 120. Yeah, okay, that's a bit better. Okay, so I now know I want this to be around 120. We might make it even a little bit. So this is where you spend a little bit more time, just make that a bit bigger. Okay, so 150, perfect. Okay, so I have another one here, so let's just go and grab the same thing. So we'll go inside 50 and inside 50, hide the title, and I'm going to edit the height. So I think it was 150, wasn't it? Check now, I've forgotten. Yeah, 150, and that should fit there. And I'm going to actually add another vertical container in here. I'll explain this in a second, and we'll do KPI tackles and tackles. Now, the reason for this is it's adding all of these filters in here. I'm going to bin this now in a second, but Tableau will add this in. So I'm just going to leave it there for a minute, and we'll go 150. And hide the title. Okay, so don't worry about how ugly this looks for a second. Let's just keep going. KPI clearances, hide the title, edit the height to 150. Disposals, hide the title and edit the height to 150. And last one, if you're still with me, handballs, hide the title and edit the height to 150. Okay, and now I'm going to double click and I'm just going to bin that one there. Super. Okay, so we can see we've got this nicely laid out, and depending on your screen or how big, you can steal a bit more size if you want. I may do that. I may just make it a little bit bigger, 900 there. Okay, so you can play around with the sizes, but important to be consistent. So these are all similarly spaced, and that is good for the eye. Right, so I still have a blank container here, but next I want to add in my other sections. So we've got a form guide, I've got a line, and then the two other sections. Okay, so again, I'm going to use a vertical container here, and then I can delete my blank. Okay, so we've got a vertical container here. So in here, I want my form guide. I then want a line running across the top of that. So I'm going to use a blank container for that, and I'll show you how we edit that in a second. So I've got form guide, that, and then I want the title, and I have some extra bits over here. So I'm actually going to use a horizontal container for that bit. Okay, so form guide, blank, horizontal container, and in here goes my, I've missed one, haven't I? Form guide, blank, yeah, goes my team crest. let's hide the titles on that and that. Let's put the title in here. Hide that title. And we're getting there. This blank is a bit big, so let me drag that down. And over here then we're going to put some instructions. So I'm just going to put an empty kind of text box for now. We'll come back to that in a second. Okay. So now that I have everything in, again, I'm just going to clear this because I don't want any filters here. Give me a bit more space. Excellent. Okay. We're nearly there, if you bear with me. So we've got our blank here, and I want to turn that into a line. So the first thing I'm going to do is come over to the layout, and I'm going to remove all the padding. And then I'm going to go and edit the height, and I'm going to make it 3 pixels, which is that. And then I'm going to give it a background of kind of a gray. So that gives me the kind of dividing line there that I'm looking at. Okay, now we can resize a little bit of this. I think I'm going to make those just a tad smaller. Okay, got our form guide. We've got that. Let's add in the instructions here. So select a team to update the dashboard. Let's pin that over there on the right. Okay, looking good. Now I need this to filter the dashboard. And I can do this really quickly by just selecting the sheet here and clicking the little use as filter button. And now what I should get is when I click on Adelaide, it updates to Adelaide. If I click on the Suns, it updates to the Suns. Now one extra thing we want to add in here is if I uncheck the Suns, it kind of breaks things, because now what I've done is I've said don't filter any of this by a team. So I don't really want this. Okay, this clearing action doesn't work for me. I need it to stay as one team. Okay, so what we're going to do is go dashboard actions, double click on the action we've added. So you see it's team crest. When I select, filter all of these. When I clear the selection, I'm going to say leave the filter. So that means there always has to be one team selected. Click OK. So if we click Brisbane Lions, if I untick Brisbane Lions, see everything stays as it was. So I think that's a much easier way to do it. And I'm going to add in one more, and that's if I click or if I hover on one of these games, I like to highlight that dot in the charts down below. So again, what we can do is go dashboard actions. I'm going to add an action, and this is a highlight action. Now, why you can't multi-select here? Okay. Okay, so turn all those off. I want, when I select the form guide, I want it to highlight all of the team lines. Okay, click OK and OK, and now that should mean if I click on this, you see the dots get highlighted. Okay, so away again, you could drill into a little bit more detail. Now let me just do a final sweep and make sure we've got everything. You can see here I've added in a little image that's just dragged from here. So I added an image in of a little hand pointing down. You can go and grab an image of that. And probably the last thing I should do here is just double click on everything. So keep double clicking till the bar fills. And I'm going to add a bit of padding here. So we'll add maybe 20 padding. Give it a little bit of room to breathe from all around. And there we have it. So we have a title that dynamically updates by selecting an image of a team, a form guide for the season, and some key stats that are here. And obviously, again, you could apply this to almost any sport and any set of KPIs that you have. So that's it for this dashboard, part 3. I hope that was very useful. I'll make all the resources available to download. The workbook will be on my Tableau public profile for you to download.